Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is being pushed to respond after a NATO protest turned violent Friday night in Montreal.
Our Parliament Hill correspondent Glen McGregor joining us now. And Glen, Trudeau spoke today at a NATO conference. What did he say? How do you address what happened on Friday?
Yeah, this is an annual meeting of NATO member countries' elected representatives, so MPs, senators, people like that from any of the 32 NATO member countries gathering in Montreal. And yes, the pretty violent protests on Friday night, anti-NATO, pro-Palestinian protests that led to smashing of retailers' windows. There was cars set on fire, allegedly assaults on police officers, and allegedly a lot of anti-Semitic language as well. Now, that night, the Prime Minister was actually in Toronto at Rogers Centre for the Taylor Swift concert. He went with his daughter and, of course, didn't have an opportunity to respond immediately, but put out over the weekend a tweet and today spoke about it when he appeared at that NATO conference. This has got a lot of international attention. Fox News, other international media jumping on this idea that Prime Minister Trudeau was partying or dancing at the Taylor Swift show when this very violent protest was going on in Montreal. Of course, he had no real role in directly responding. That's something for Montreal police and Quebec police to deal with, but he did denounce it when he posted on Twitter. Today, though, having the first opportunity to respond verbally to it, here's what he had to say.
As a democracy, as a country that will always defend the freedom of speech, it's important for people to be able to go out and protest and express their anger, their disagreements in free and comfortable ways. But there is never any room for anti-Semitism, for hatred, for discrimination, for violence.
Now, Trudeau also talking a lot in this speech today about what seems to be sort of fading resolve amongst some NATO member countries to continue to support Ukraine in its ongoing war against Russia since that invasion in February 2022. Of course, he's looking towards the United States, things that Donald Trump has said, suggesting that he may not be providing the same amount of aid and military support to Ukraine that the Biden administration did. Trudeau said there's a real temptation amongst a lot of countries, because their economies are going relatively badly, they've seen the affordability crisis, that they are going to make military spending and support for another country far from them a lower priority. Here's what he had to say about NATO's role and the affordability issue affecting many of those countries.
People saying, oh, well, let's take care of the affordability crisis first. Let's deal with some of the challenges that people are facing in their daily lives. We'll let the long term take care of itself. NATO is there to make sure we are watching this long term. Make sure we are ready for the uncertainty and the crises that are coming at us.
Trudeau also listing all the things that Canada has done to support NATO and to support the people of Ukraine, referring to the ongoing deployment of Canadian troops in Latvia, a NATO member country, as sort of kind of a stopgap measure to keep to deter Russia from coming into the Baltic region. But Trudeau still faces a lot of questions about Canada's overall defense spending. Like all NATO member countries, we are committed to spending 2% of our gross domestic product, our GDP, on the military. We're not anywhere close to that. Trudeau has promised that we will hit that level in 2032. Unclear exactly how we're going to get there. Could depend in large part also on how high our GDP is, because of course the GDP ratio that NATO uses is a measure of your economy's strength. So if your economy is doing not as well, then your defense spending stays the same. Then technically your contribution to NATO spending calculation actually increases. But this is something that's going to be a real issue when Donald Trump takes the White House in January. He has expressed many times, and we've heard some of his surrogates over the past week or two talking about Canada's failure to spend enough on military fast enough. There's been a lot of pressure on Justin Trudeau once Trump takes the Oval Office to increase that number and do it, Mel Fiza, before 2032.
All right, Glen McGregor in Ottawa, thank you so much.